Hi, everybody, and welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your child with autism. I'm Dr. Skowron, biomedical autism expert for over 20 years, and this podcast talks about all the medical issues that are going on with your child with autism. We focus on non-pharmaceutical interventions and great ways for you to help your child, and we base everything that we talk about in science and scientific research because there is so much science out there studying and researching ways to help kids with autism, and we want to share that with you so you know that there's hope to help your kids. So today's podcast, we're going to be talking about a really popular topic, and often we'll ask you guys, hey, what do you want to know about today with autism? And a lot of people will often ask, hey, we want to know what we can do to help with seizures. Okay, so seizures, very familiar, and of course people who have chronic seizures, it's also known as epilepsy. Seizures are quite prevalent in many kids with autism. Now, obviously, if your child has seizures, you're probably on some type of anti-seizure medication such as Keppra, and that's great because we don't want our kids to have seizures, but it's important for me to kind of dig deep and understand, wait a minute, why do our kids have seizures? How can we screen for these seizures? What kind of problems in the brain are these seizures causing? And of course, what can we do about it adjunctively and additionally to the seizure medications? So we're going to be talking about these seizures today. Now, before we get into the science, let's talk about generally about what seizures are and how they happen, okay? Number one, the nervous system of our body runs on electricity, okay? We are made of electricity, period. No, we're not made of electricity, but our body runs on electricity. Our nervous system runs on electricity. So we want to make sure that our nervous system has a certain speed, if you will, of how often these signals are sent, okay? So what actually happens on our nerves, in order to send a signal from here to there, let's say I touch my hand, okay? I touch my hand and I can feel it. Why? Because a signal has been sent because of that contact. A signal was sent from my fingers up to my brain, okay? And that signal has a certain speed, and that speed is always the same, all right? What changes is how often that signal is sent. So the speed of the signal, because our nerves work on electricity, that speed is always the same. But how often that signal is sent changes based on the electrical polarity, if you will, of our nervous system. So sometimes I may touch my fingers together and I get a signal. Sometimes I touch my fingers together and I'm like, geez, I can't really feel that. That doesn't feel as much as it should feel because those signals are being sent less often. Or I might be very hypersensitive, like our kids with sensory processing issues, and wow, that feels super tingly, and it feels bigger because that signal is being sent more often. So again, depending on where our electricity status is in our nervous system is how we're going to send these signals, how often we send the signal, and that controls our nervous system, okay? So, and that, how often that signal is sent is, yes, controlled by electricity, but the electricity is controlled by different chemicals, okay? We talk about these chemicals a lot. They're brain chemicals. They're neurotransmitters. So things like serotonin, things like dopamine, things like adrenaline, things like GABA are different chemicals that affect that electronic potential, that action potential, as it's called, and how often those signals are sent. Okay, so that's just kind of physiology of the nervous system 101, and why we sometimes we feel things more or less or average. All right, the same thing with hearing. Sometimes I can hear things super far away, and then sometimes I can't hear my wife talking to me when she's right next to me. All right, so it's how often those signals are sent. So think about the nervous system as being overactive, underactive, or just kind of middle average of the road, all right? What happens with seizures is it's almost known as an electrical storm. An electrical storm is when these signals are sent uncontrolled, and there's no stopping of these signals, and these signals just go around and around and around and around and around and around, and the electricity is just lighting up in our brain, and that causes different types of motor stims. Okay, think of a big grand mal seizure, the biggest seizure that's out there, and people fall on the ground and lose consciousness and their body is flailing because that brain is so overactive, it's making the entire motor system flail everywhere. Okay, and you lose consciousness and you fall asleep, and that's kind of what we see in a seizure, and that's what's happening in the brain with the seizure. It's an electrical storm. It's an overactivity. It's too much. It's too many signals happening. Okay, so now that we've kind of got that basic metaphor of a seizure, again, lots of electricity, uncontrolled electricity moving around in the brain, I want to go back to that understanding of how signals are sent in the brain. All right, there's an average, there's a balance, there's a Goldilocks. All right, there's a speed and there's a brake, there's an accelerator and there's a slow down, just like in our car. All right, and again, our brain chemicals, our neurotransmitters, are what's controlling how often those signals are sent. It's controlling the accelerator, it's controlling the brake. All right, we're going to be talking about the major accelerator and the major brake in the brain. The major accelerator in the brain is called glutamate. Okay, you've probably heard of this with monosodium glutamate, MSG. It's a salt flavored or a salt tasting flavoring that's used in foods, and it's the major stimulant in the brain. Okay, the major brake in the brain is called GABA. Okay, and you may have heard of GABA as well. We talk about GABA a lot. GABA is a protein, and it acts as the major brake in the brain. Now, what's really interesting about our bodies is that this accelerator glutamate and this brake GABA can actually turn into each other. The glutamate can become the GABA can become the glutamate, the accelerator can become the brake can become the accelerator. It's this very yin-yang kind of interweaving of how our body functions, okay? And different things that go on in our life and in our body will kind of push which way that's moving, okay? Are we becoming more excited and we're pushing towards the glutamate? Are we becoming more calm and we're pushing towards that brake? That's that balance of glutamate and GABA that occurs on a second-to-second basis in our body. And when our kids are having seizures, it's really pushing toward that accelerator. Those GABA levels are dropping and that glutamate level is going off the charts. All right. So just think about that accelerator brake balance is what's happening with a seizure. Okay. So that's kind of a general metaphor, overall thought that I want you to have while we're looking at our science about these seizures. Okay. So let's get into the science because I think that's really going to kind of guide us in where we're going today. So cheaters on. Here's this first research study. One thing before I get into the research. I find it really intriguing as I go through science, how so much scientific research, kind of from like the 90s on, is very pharmaceutical based. And when you look at before the 90s, there's much more research into physiology and into non-pharmaceutical interventions. There's not much science in the non-pharmaceutical interventions anymore because, our medicine is so pharmaceutical based. But it's really important when we're talking about health is to understand how the body should be working. And if there's an imbalance in how the body's working, is there a better way to intervene? Is there a better way to help other than pharmaceuticals that may have side effects? Now, pharmaceuticals can be great and they save lives, which is fantastic, but it's not the only answer. And so here, Spectrum Awakening, we're trying to give you as many answers as possible to help your child so you can pick the best treatment out there, okay? Or the best combination of treatments. Why does it just have to be one? Why can't it be multiple? All right, so I'm going to highlight some of the age of these research, which I find really intriguing. And again, how that pours into conventional medicine is how conventional medicine has distanced itself from normal physiology and normal body function and focusing on pharmaceuticals. Okay? And I think they're missing the boat in doing everything they can to help people. And that's all that matters, is we're helping people, we're helping our kids in every way possible. All right, let's get into this research. First off, how often do our kids have seizures? Okay? Here's the co-occurrence of epilepsy and autism, all right? The prevalence of epilepsy in people with autism is 12.1%, and the prevalence of autism in people with epilepsy is 9%. So this highlights the importance of screening for autism in people who have epilepsy and screening for epilepsy in people who have autism, okay? So again, we can baseline this at about 10%. So about 1 out of 10 kids with autism are going to have seizures. Okay? And if you have seizures, 1 out of 10 of them are going to have autism. All right? So what does that really mean? Why does that matter for us? Well, it matters because if you've got a kid with autism, okay, I mean, you got 10% odds that they're having seizures or at least having seizure activity. So this begs the question, how do I know my kid's having seizures? All right. If it's obvious, it's obvious. Okay? If you have a grand mal seizure, you know, if your kid goes unconscious and falls down and is flailing, it's an obvious seizure. It is, trust me, it is not pleasant to be around. It is really scary as a parent to see your child have a seizure. But trust me, what you want to do if your child is having a seizure is just leave them alone. Make sure they're in a space where they can flail and not hurt themselves, okay? Because if there's things around that they're going to smash into, they could literally break their bones because they're moving so fast. Something falls down on them. We just kind of want to get them physically safe. We want to make sure they don't throw up and swallow their vomit or inhale their vomit. So it's, you know, if in the moment of having a seizure, just keep them physically safe and let it happen. Don't restrain them. You might get hurt. You might hurt them. Just let it happen. Okay? Then they're going to wake up and they're going to be exhausted and they're going to need sugar because they just did a workout, you know, in 30 seconds. So when you have a grand mal seizure, you know it's pretty obvious, okay? What a lot of people are concerned about is something called absence seizures. Now, an absence seizure is a very mild level of seizure activity without motor symptoms, okay? So they're not falling down, becoming unconscious and you know, flailing, but what they're doing is they're becoming unconscious but not having any motor symptoms, okay? So they're called absence seizures because they look absent. All right. Basically, the child just stares off into space, right? And you don't know what's going on. You're like, hey, are you thinking about, you know, the world and what's going on, or are you, you know, having a seizure and not aware of what's going on? Okay. What I want you to do at those times is try to get their attention. Okay. Wave your hand in front of their face, call their name, see if they respond. Okay. If they respond to you, they're probably not having a seizure. But if they don't respond to you, that's when I would be concerned. That's when I would go to your doctor and I would ask for an EEG. So this goes into the next important thing of, well, hey, I'm concerned my child's having a seizure. I wonder if my child is having seizure activity. What do I do? Okay? You ask your doctor for an EEG. Okay, an EEG is when you take those little pads and wires and attach it to your head, and it monitors electrical activity in the brain to monitor for seizure activity. Okay? Here's the thing. Seizures don't happen all the time. So a seizure has to happen as you're measuring it, as you're monitoring it in order to pick it up. Okay? And so like a 5-minute EEG or a 30-minute EEG is not enough. What you need is a 48-hour EEG. Okay, 48 hours, even better, 72 hours is really what you want. You know, they've got these helmets that they wear and it connects to a machine, you know, via Bluetooth or whatever. You know, hard for kids to wear those, but honestly, that's the best way to really measure for seizure activity. If you see no seizures within 72 hours, you probably aren't having any. What's interesting, I just spoke with a patient today in my telemedicine clinic, and they were monitoring their child for seizures, put the EEG on, no seizure activity, then they strobed lights in their eyes, seizure activity happened, okay? The child didn't have an actual seizure. You know, they didn't become unconscious, they didn't flail, but their brain had the seizure activity in there, okay? And that's going to affect brain development. That's going to affect autism, all right? We don't want seizure activity in the brain because it's bad for development, period, okay? This child wasn't even medicated. I said, well, what's your dose of Keppra or seizure medication? They're like, we're not on any. Like, you've got seizure activity on an EEG and it's not treated. And you don't know when it's happening, all right? And the patient said, well, the doctor said it only happened with the strobe lights, so, you know, there you go. Well, what does that mean? You know, and what do our kids do? What do we do? We're watching TV. We're watching screens. We're on our tablets. We're on our iPads. We're getting light flashed into our face, okay? these new LED lights that we all have. I was talking to Temple Grandin on my podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go back. I interviewed Temple Grandin like December or January this year. She's amazing. And she talked about the new LED lights. And the new LED lights that we're all transitioning to actually flicker incredibly fast, especially the cheap ones, okay? They do that to save electricity. They're not always on. But they flash so quickly, our eyes don't see it. Right? Just like a helicopter. You can't see the blades of a helicopter going around and move too fast. You just see like the pop, 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 pop. Right? So what you can do is take your phone, put it on video record, put it on slow-mo, hold it up to one of these LED lights and see if it flickers. Really interesting stuff. Trust me. I want you to do it and see it for yourself. So the cheap ones flicker. We can't see it. But my question is, do those contribute to seizure activity for people who are affected by that strobe lighting? Okay? Anyway, so the point being, a good 10% of our kids are having seizures. We may not know it if they're not having a full-on grand mal seizure, okay? They may have seizure activity, that affects their development and learning, and we may not know. The only way to know is to do an EEG. 48 hours, 72 hours is the best way, okay? Easier said than done. I get it, all right? Let's move on. This is epileptiform activity. That's a fancy word for, abnormal electricity in the brain. Epileptiform activity in the brain with autism. Many individuals with autism have epileptiform discharges on their EEG without having definitive clinical seizures. Frequent spikes may contribute to cognitive impairment. All right? Let me say that again. Frequent spikes of electricity in the brain may contribute to cognitive impairment. This is exactly why I brought up that story of my patient today, okay? They were having abnormal electricity in their brain, all right, when they had lights strobed in their face. That affects development, period. That affects cognition, all right? So what do? You get an EEG, you have seizure activity, you want to stop it, okay? What is a neurologist going to do? They're going to put you on seizure meds. And you know what? That's okay. Seizure meds are okay. We don't want our kids to have seizures. We don't want this abnormal electricity in the brain. Now, we're going to be talking about other natural ways to enhance this. Maybe we're going to talk about natural ways that what we can do first before the seizure medication. And if they work, awesome. If they don't work, hey, there's seizure medication out there. We want our kids to be healthy. But, again, the seizure medication will help your kids. All right. But again, maybe there's something we can do adjunctively. Maybe there's something we can do beforehand with fewer side effects. What are those side effects? Well, let me show you this one. This doesn't have to do with our kids, but it has to do with moms. This is the safety of anti-epileptic drugs for neurological development in children exposed during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Okay. So if you have seizures and are taking seizure medication when pregnant or breastfeeding, what it talks about is some seizure medication, which is oxcarbazepine and valproate and lamotrigine plus valproate were associated with significantly greater odds of developing autism, right? What does that say? If you are pregnant, if you are breastfeeding and you take seizure medications, higher odds of having a child with autism, okay? All right. Now, again, we mentioned how seizures happen in the brain. It's this imbalance of the accelerator and the brake of the electricity and how often the electricity discharges. Glutamate's the accelerator. GABA is the brake. All right? Do we know this? Yes. We've known this for an extremely long time. Here's a research study from 1975. The role of GABA, that's gamma aminobutyric acid, that's GABA, the role of GABA in the mechanism of seizures. So here's a really long abstract. But basically, what this research study is saying is it's this deficiency in GABA that is associated with seizures. That's why many of the seizure medications enhance GABA activity in the brain. Okay? So, just to highlight that, because we're going to be talking about GABA this whole podcast. All right. So, what causes the seizures? There's a lot of things. Okay? Number one is going to be genetics. All right? If you have certain genetic mutations that are now researched and proven to cause both epilepsy and or autism. So for those kids who kind of were slow to develop from the beginning, if your child may have had seizures really early on in life, especially without a fever, if you had a seizure without a fever, man, check your genetics, period. Okay? So what causes them? Genetic abnormalities can cause them, but also toxins. Okay? What toxins are we talking about? Most of them. Here's a study from 1979 talking about lead, GABA, and seizures and the effects of lead exposure and how lead exposure can cause seizures, okay? Because these toxins are going to affect how the brain functions and affect GABA, and there you go. What else can cause seizures? Well, hey, let me get kicked off of YouTube again. What else can cause seizures? Well, let's ask the CDC. There you go, the Center for Disease Control.gov, MMR vaccine side effects. An MMR vaccine has been linked with risk of seizures, all right? This is straightforward from the CDC. A rare side effect of the MMR vaccine is seizures, all right? So please, when you ask your pediatrician, hey, does this vaccine have any side effects? If they say no, they're lying to you, okay? There are rare side effects of the MMR shot causing seizures. This is straight from the CDC, people. Show them this website and say, hey, why don't you tell me the side effects? Why don't you? They may be rare, but they're there, okay? Next, here's a really interesting research study. Again, let's get into the treatment of these. The treatment of the seizures is basically improving GABA activity in the brain, all right? The meds are out there. Here's an interesting study. This was an animal study from about 20 years ago. Transplants of cells engineered to produce GABA suppress seizures. Okay? GABA-producing cells significantly lowered spontaneous seizures. So what does this mean? This was like, it wasn't a stem cell, but it was a cell transplant into animals. They injected cells that were formulated to produce GABA, put those in the brain, and those cells made GABA, okay? They made the break, and the seizure stopped, all right? Pretty straightforward. More GABA, stop seizures, period, okay? Why? Because that's how the brain calms itself down, period, okay? Let me take a break from the research here really quick. GABA is widely available as a supplement. GABA is a protein. It's an amino acid, okay? It's going to be in every protein food that you eat. You can also take it as a supplement, all right? So here's an example. We have a chewable GABA tablet, okay? That's an option. It's 200 milligrams. Some people do better on higher doses. But as an example, you can easily get GABA over the counter. It's actually outlawed as a supplement in England, in the United Kingdom, because it works so well. So it's a pharmaceutical. GABA is a pharmaceutical in the United Kingdom because it works so well. Okay, here in the States, it's over the counter. Pretty cool. All right. So you can use GABA, and it's great, and it works, but it has a really short lifespan in the body. I mean, we're talking about 4 to 6 hours. So you take some GABA, you'll absorb it, it'll get in your bloodstream, it'll get in your brain, it'll slow down your nervous system, but it's gone quick. So if you're going to use GABA and you want to maintain those levels in the body, if you just take GABA, you're going to have to take it 3 or 4 times a day. Okay, you're going to have to keep dosing. I saw a research study, which I don't have. The half-life in mice is a period of minutes, like 15 to 20 minutes, and it's gone. So what else can we do? Remember, the body is continually making things that it needs. It's continually formulating and creating. So the body will produce its own GABA, okay? But we need to enhance it, okay? So there are certain nutritional things that we can do to enhance the body's production of GABA so it's happening continually, and we don't have to supplement with GABA all the time, all right? One of those is vitamin B6, okay? Vitamin B6 is also known as pyridoxine. All right. This study, again, I want to highlight the age of these guys. 1983, pyridoxine-dependent seizures. Remember, pyridoxine is vitamin B6. Pyridoxine-dependent seizures occur as a result of an increased requirement of the vitamin within the central nervous system. With early intervention, these seizures can be completely controlled by doses of this vitamin. Without prompt treatment, continued seizures and irreversible neurological damage result. So I love this abstract for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. Number 1, it's over 40 years old, all right? How many neurologists are going to give you vitamin B6, which can completely control the seizure, okay? Vitamin B6, pyridoxine, can completely control some seizures. Why aren't we starting there? That's my question, okay? But secondly, without treatment, irreversible neurological damage results. Again, we do need to control these seizures in whatever way possible before the brain damage is too much, all right? But again, can we use natural therapies as an adjunct or as first-line treatment and see if that's effective before we go to stronger things with side effects? Okay? Here's, again, why does the B6 help? Because there is reduced GABA synthesis in pyridoxine-dependent seizures. Again, we need vitamin B6 to produce GABA, so when we're low on vitamin B6, the GABA level's low. That's how it's helping. All right. Here's another one. Again, I got to highlight the age of these guys because this is the research that was done before the 90s that was based on physiology, based on how our body truly worked, not just testing drugs. All right? 1987, disappearance of seizures after treatment with B6. The level of GABA, and this is a case study. The level of GABA in the cerebral spinal fluid was very low in this patient. Injection of vitamin B6 blocked the seizures immediately. B6 blocked the seizures immediately, and GABA level was low. They retested the spinal fluid and the spinal tap. GABA levels were normal after B6. Okay, I'll say this as well. When I'm looking at OAT tests in my patients, a lot of people have low B6. It's quite common. In fact, I think I might put a vitamin B6 supplement on our website. It's obviously easy to get. You can get B6 anywhere over the counter, but I want to make sure you guys have a good quality source if you want. All right, what if B6 doesn't work? All right, not all seizures are the same. Not all treatments are going to work for everything. That's why there's different options. Here's a research study. For those of you who follow Spectrum Awakening, you know I'm a huge fan of folinic acid. Okay, this study's done in 1999. Folinic acid responsive seizures. Refractory to anticonvulsants, steroids, and pyridoxine, seizures stopped within 24 hours of starting folinic acid. A trial of folinic acid can be considered with unexplained early onset intractable seizures. Okay? So if you got seizures and you're on the seizure meds and they're not working, and you're on steroids and they're not working, you even tried B6 and they're not working, folinic acid might. Okay? One of my favorite stories was a patient, probably, I want to say 7-8 years ago, it was before COVID for sure, had 30 seizures a day, was on the max dose of Keppra, anti-seizure medication, but still 30 seizures a day on seizure meds. Okay? Poor kid had to wear a helmet because you never know when he'd fall down. Okay? Folinic acid stopped the seizures in 1 day, from 30 to 0. Period. Okay? There are other options. That's what I want to bring to you guys. Other options to help your kids. Here's another research study. Folinic acid responsive seizures. Okay, initially responsive to pyridoxine. Seizures reappeared despite treatment with pyridoxine. Seizures ceased after folinic acid was initiated. Treatment with folinic acid should be considered in seizures that do not respond to vitamin B6. Okay, but again, how many neurologists are given B6? Honestly, I don't know a one. If you are out there, thank you for trying. All right, here we have again folinic acid. We love folinic acid. Folinic acid responsive seizures. Seizures ceased 24 hours after starting folinic acid. I couldn't be any clearer. Seizures ceased 24 hours after starting folinic acid. And again, these are big grand mal seizures. What if your child is having seizure activity without full-blown external seizures? Okay? That's how the folinic acid can help our kids. All right. Oh, and remember, if you need folinic acid, try ours. Try our superfolinic acid powder. We've made this as a better supplement. Worked with a PhD from Cornell who I spoke with about how we can get folinic acid into the brain across the folate receptor. When there's folate receptor antibodies, there are cofactors that'll help your body get this folinic acid across the blood-brain barrier. Okay? Rob just said our neurologist does recommend B6 from University of Michigan. However, they do it to offset the Keppra rage. At least they're doing it. That's amazing, Rob. I am astounded by any conventional doctor nowadays that will give anything non-pharmaceutical besides iron or vitamin D. Okay? All right, let's move off the folinic acid and get to hormones. Okay? All right. This is talking about progesterone. Progesterone and its effects on seizures. The anti-seizure effects of progesterone family compounds have long been known. Progesterone's anti-seizure effects are due to its modulator of GABA receptors. That's right. Progesterone, one of our sex hormones, is very calming. It's very relaxing. That's why so many women feel great when they're pregnant. Not all of them, but the progesterone levels during pregnancy are super, super, super high. You never get those high levels, without being pregnant. So that calmness, that peacefulness when you're pregnant, especially second and third trimester, occur because you've got all this GABA activity in the brain. That's because of the progesterone. Okay? Now, you can't, everybody has some progesterone, even boys. Boys have a little bit, girls have more, but everybody has some progesterone. The issue with giving progesterone when you don't need it is you're also going to have the hormone effects. Okay? So we're not going to be giving progesterone to people who are, haven't hit puberty yet. But if you have a child post-puberty, test their progesterone levels, even the boys. Okay? If they're low, all right, you can get progesterone over the counter, okay? You can get a small microdose of progesterone as a cream. We've got it on our website. This is not a pharmaceutical. This is, regulated by the FDA as over the counter, all right? But again, you don't want to be giving that to kids before puberty, and I would definitely test your progesterone levels before giving a cream. All right, 2 more, then we'll get to our live questions, okay? What else? Ooh, vitamin D. Hey, we all love vitamin D. Guess what? Status of vitamin D levels in seizures. Vitamin D insufficiency was present in 43% of kids with seizures and was massively deficient in 30% of kids with seizures. So we've got almost 75% of kids who have seizures have insufficient or deficient levels of vitamin D. The majority of the children presented with recurrent episodes of seizures had vitamin D deficiency. Okay? Get on your D. We all need it, okay? Our ancestors were outside all day. We were in the fields farming. We were hunting animals, okay? We didn't sit inside all day with our central air. Most people don't have enough vitamin D. Make sure you take it, and make sure you take enough. In fact, I think next week I'll do a full vitamin D podcast because we need to talk about dosing. And there's vitamin D everywhere. I had our vitamin D somewhere. I can't find it. You can get vitamin D anywhere. We've got it as tablets. We've got it as gummies. We've got it as a liquid. Our gummies are actually pretty good. It's one of the few supplements my daughter will take of ours. Get on your vitamin D. All right, last but not least, 1992. Geez, I was graduating high school. Anticonvulsant effects of magnesium on seizures. Okay, low magnesium levels produced epileptiform activity. The epileptiform activity was reversed by increasing the magnesium concentration. Magnesium has central anticonvulsant activity. The science is simple. The science is straightforward. Your body should be on things that are calming and relaxing, such as magnesium, such as vitamin D, such as GABA, such as folinic acid, such as B6, okay? Such as having enough progesterone levels based on your sex and age. These calming nutritional items, okay, support normal, calm electrical activity in the brain. That is going to help us prevent seizure activity. Now, again, if you need seizure medications, take those seizure medications, all right? I'm not saying we should avoid those, but what I'm saying is there are adjunctive things you can do to help. Maybe you can take a lower medication dose so you don't have to deal with the side effects, or maybe we can intervene and not need medications, all right? But we definitely do not want seizure activity in our kids' brains because it does lead to cognitive delays. All right, there we go, guys. That's our podcast on seizures. Let's give the coupon of the weekend, and we'll get to our live questions. Coupon of the weekend, you guessed it, it's Seizure 20. Seizure 20 is going to get you 20% off any of our supplements, any of our lab tests on SpectrumAwakening.com. That expires July 14th, 2024. If you want one-on-one help, you can schedule a video telemedicine appointment with me. I talk to people all over the world. I love it. Even today, talk to somebody from California, or 2 people from California. The other one from Jersey. I've talked to people on every continent in the world except for Antarctica. And I am here to help you guys because there are so many ways that you can help your child with autism besides just going to therapy. You know, hey, speech and OT and PT and ABA, great. But autism is a medical condition, and we need to treat it as such in order to help as much as possible. You're not just going to train your child, through therapy out of autism, Okay, we're not just going to, hey, this is the way you should be acting. Let's train you that way. There are medical things happening. Look at the scientific research. All right, let's get to our live questions. For those of you who are new to Spectrum Awakening, we record our podcast live on our Facebook page every Thursday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We record this on Facebook Live, so you can be on here live, participate, ask live questions, and we're going to get into our live Q&A right now. Before we do, for those of you who are regulars, don't forget we are finally releasing our brand new autism multivitamin. I've been thinking about this for years. How do I make a multivitamin that is autism specific and the nutrients that kids need who are on the spectrum? So that is in production right now. I'm hoping to launch it in September, but what we need is a name, okay? And I survey you guys for the great names of our products, all right? We love to give our products fun names. Why not, huh? So if you have an idea for a great name for an autism multivitamin, send us an email, DM us, contact us through social media. The name that we pick, that person is going to get a free bottle, our first bottle of our new multivitamin. Actually, I'll probably get the first, but you'll get the second. All right. So let's get to our live questions. I'm still going to use my cheaters. All right. Live shout out to Sandra. Hey, Sandra. Live shout out to Janice. Live shout out to Colleen and Vanessa and Elena. Do you still have a store on Amazon? Elena, great question. Yes and no. No, we don't, because Amazon is the struggle is real with Amazon. They are a pain in the giat. So we don't have a store on Amazon currently, but I have a meeting with an Amazon rep, the 22nd? Like in 2 weeks, I've got a meeting with an Amazon rep, and we are going to get the majority of our products, or our most popular products, onto Amazon. So that is going to happen soon. And once we finally get them onto Amazon, we're going to be able to start branching out and putting them in other countries' Amazons. For those of you in other countries, you understand how expensive shipping and customs fees are. So we're going to try to get this stuff into Canada and India and Mexico. And if you want it in your country on Amazon, contact us and we will do our best. Denise, hey, Dr. Skowron, what would you recommend for ADHD besides attention on the double? As it has B vitamins, which drive him crazy. Number one, our attention on the double powder does not have B vitamins, just the capsules. The capsules and the powder are different formulas. He also takes Calm and Cool and anger management. I would try our temper tamer. Sometimes abnormalities with cortisol can cause ADHD. Try our temper tamer. Janice, love how you always break everything down so it's easily understood. You're welcome, Janice. That is what I really try to do. You know, a lot of docs are super smart and have a great heart, but man, they are up in that ivory tower world of fancy Greek and Latin words, and you can't understand them because that's how they talk to each other. They talk to each other so they can sound smart to each other, right? I don't need that. What I need is to help you. So I really try to make sure I give you guys metaphors, and maybe that's just how my brain thinks. My brain can't remember all these fancy words, but understands the basic process of how our body works. And that's what matters. Not fancy words, understanding the topic. Sometimes I think some docs don't even understand the topic. They just understand the fancy words. Sharon, hey doc, on the stool test treatment shows antifungal and antibiotics to be used. Can I just go for antifungal natural treatment? If you just have a fungal infection, yes. The natural treatment is broad spectrum, which is great. You know, so like our yeast mold bundle is either grapefruit seed extract or colloidal silver, and those work on a majority of infections, whether bacterial or parasite or yeast. So naturally, it's very broad spectrum. Yeah, you can do that. Diane, what causes celiac disease and how to treat it? Wow, that's a great question. I don't know what causes celiac. I actually think it's genetic. But if there is another cause, I don't know. What tests to run? Frankly, the best test is a colonoscopy. Yeah, it's invasive. But there are blood tests that'll check. But I've had patients where the blood tests are normal, but the colonoscopy is positive and abnormal and diagnostic for celiac. Frankly, the best thing to do is stop eating gluten and see how you feel. Say, hey, I stopped gluten, I feel great. Well, then don't eat gluten. Diane, how to treat asthma? I want you to do two things, Diane. Vitamin D and magnesium. Vitamin D and magnesium are really relaxing to the airways of the bronchi, of the lungs. So I would do vitamin D and magnesium, start there. There's also an herb called lobelia, which is nice, but I would just start with the vitamin D and mag. Prischesha Ivanova. Hello. Dashel. Give natural herbal medicine a try. It's not about living with your situation. The question is how long you can bear to live with it. Yep, we got a troll. Troll removed. I wish I had like a Harry Potter spell. Sharon, gut reset probiotic capsule can be opened and mixed with food. Yes, Sharon, they can. Denise, can kids grow out of epilepsy? My 11-year-old was diagnosed with epilepsy at 15 months. He was prescribed medications, which helped. He's been off his meds for over a year now. Let's walk that through, okay? 11 years old, diagnosed with epilepsy at 15 months, okay? Was prescribed anti-seizure meds, okay? We don't want seizures, but he's been off for over a year since he was, I guess, 10 years old. What happens at that age? Puberty. Progesterone. Okay? A progesterone deficiency dependent seizure. You get into puberty, the hormones kick up, I have more progesterone, whether you're a boy or a girl, and the seizures go away. It's all physiology, guys. It's all physiology. Could progesterone treatment when he was younger stop the seizures? Probably. Probably. That's why you should be testing. Test your progesterone. Simple blood test. Simple. Paula. Hello, Paula. Live shout out. Sharon, can we give multivitamin without testing? Of course. Enza is sharing. Thank you, guys. I need you guys to share. Look, I love sharing this information. I love helping you. I love showing you that there's scientific research to help your kids. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know, you know, and so it's you sharing this information with family, with friends, with strangers, with social media that's going to save the kids across the world. Okay, so I need you guys to share. Trust me, I know. I talked to a patient Monday. Yeah, Monday. And I said, hey, you know, I'm glad this is helping you. We got to spread the word. And they're like, we tell everybody, but nobody believes. Nobody believes that there's hope. Nobody believes that there's an option. Nobody believes that there's science or help. They just listen to their doctor and go to therapy and we're done. Okay? I don't know how to get through that. I don't know how to change the mindset of people, but we've got to do what we can. So thank you for spreading the word. Thea, hey doc, it's so nice to be back with another great topic. My 15-year-old has his first seizure in November, second seizure June this year. This time he was put on Keppra and was hospitalized for 3 days, did an EEG that showed nothing. It was 2 hours long. Last Friday he was given a 74-hour EEG. We did waiting results, also waiting on genetic testing, so I got his first order from you yesterday. I want to know what to start. Power and Focus, Flinic Acid, Multi, and C. Please advise which to start first since he's on the Keppra. Power and Focus, then the Flinic, then the C, then the Multi. Go with that. But so odd to start seizures at that age, Thea. I would be worried about pandas, which can cause seizures. Why? Because it's inflammation affecting electricity. Look into pandas, Thea, and see if that helps. You may want some anti-inflammatories like Panda Bear. That might help. Sharon, sweet tasting gut binder should be taken away from food and supplements. Away from supplements, yeah, you can take it with food. Jesse, parasites. They're a problem. I'm not sure what you're asking, but they're a problem, and they're there. On Monday, I diagnosed a patient with 2 parasites. That's right. Regular stool test, regular lab, 2 parasites. And I say regular lab because there's a lot of specialty labs out there that many conventional docs are not familiar with, and they may disregard those results if it doesn't come from a hospital or Quest or LabCorp. But this was a LabCorp conventional lab result, 2 parasites. Karen, hey Karen, what about seizure medications don't work and instead cause more seizures? Started Keppra and then began to have every form of seizures. The side effects of Keppra are seizures. Mind blown. Karen, you try this stuff. You try, and it's in the research. The research explicitly says if the anticonvulsants don't work, if the seizure meds don't work, try B6, try Flinic, look at the progesterone, vitamin D, magnesium, all those things we talked about, Karen. Dolly's watching. Hey, Dolly. Dolly's a regular. Susan, identical twins, seizures. What genetic testing would you recommend? You want a microarray, CMA, and a whole exome sequence, WES. Okay. Ask your doctor for it. Insurance might pay, depending on your insurance. If you don't want to deal with that and just want to get the testing now, we've got the microarray and the whole exome on our website. Okay. So you can get that done right away if you want. Most genetic tests are a blood draw. Ours is a cheek swab. Take a big long Q-tip, get some saliva on it, send it out. You're done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Sandra, my son was diagnosed with P10 gene mutations. They say it's the reason for his autism and seizure. Yeah, it is possible. The reason no matter what I try to do with him makes him worse. Not sure what to do. Sandra, I forgot if you're a patient or not, but I would love to do this, Sandra. If you can send a copy of your genetic results to our email, send that copy with the P10, and let me take a look and get back to you. Okay? But what you said, and I want to highlight this for other people, kids who have genetic mutations that cause autism or cause autism and epilepsy often don't have a treatment that works. All of these biomedical things, okay, often don't work with the kids who have genetic mutations. There's specific treatments for some of those gene mutations. Jesse, I heard GABA can convert to glutamate. It's true. They do, and back and forth. Glutamate converts to GABA. GABA converts to glutamate. The accelerator becomes the brake. The brake becomes the accelerator. Okay? How would we know if our kid is not reacting well to GABA? Oh, you'd know. Talk about hyperactivity. Yeah. Hyperactivity. Big time. But try it. Remember, it only lasts in the body 4 to 6 hours. So you give some GABA, like this, and it should calm them down. All right? If it doesn't and they get more hyper, wait 4 to 6 hours to be over. All right, Susan, B6 dependent testing. So you can do blood work or urine tests for vitamin B6. But I think when it comes to the seizures, you may need to go past, a reference range level with the lab, and that's okay. So if your child has seizures, I would just try B6 regardless of the level. It's water soluble. You pee out what you don't need. Linda, my brother has 2 back-to-back seizures, 8 minutes each. How can we help him from all the damage? He currently loses memory on and off. Oh, I would just say antioxidants like alpha-lipoic acid. That's your best shot. Some seizure damage is irreversible, like the research says, but I would say antioxidants and alpha-lipoic acid, Linda. Maybe even hyperbaric. Sandra, so if someone has been on Keppra for a while and hasn't had any more seizures, does it mean the Keppra has stopped them because it increased the B6 level? No, Keppra just activates GABA activity in the brain. How does it relate to a P10 gene mutation? I gotta research the P10. I don't know a lot about it right now, but I could research it and know in a few minutes. Can seizures be controlled naturally even with a gene mutation? It's possible. Yes, I've seen it. It's possible. You've got a trial and error, but it's possible. And don't stop. If you're on seizure meds, don't stop it. But add some of this stuff. Talk to your neurologist about getting EEGs and wanting to lower the dose and see if there's still no more seizure activity. If you can get a lower dose of medication and still have no seizure activity, it's a win. Okay? Elena, I've read that B6 needs to be taken with magnesium. That's to help absorb the magnesium. So if you want magnesium to work, you need B6. Okay? It has nothing to do with the B6 and the seizures. How much magnesium? Really, you go up to bowel tolerance, so maybe 200, maybe 500, maybe 800. Too much magnesium, you'll get diarrhea. That's how the body gets rid of it. What form to take? Glycinate, citrate, and malate. Frankly, I think most magnesium forms are the same, except for magnesium oxide. Okay, I don't like mag oxide because it just runs through you. You really don't absorb much. But the glycinate, the citrate, and the malate, I think the absorption is very, very similar. I think any research you see is all marketing. I use glycinate in our supplements because it's sweeter tasting. That's why I use glycinate or bisglycinate. But I think they're all really similar. Just avoid mag oxide. Rob talked about his neurologist using B6, which I love. I love open-mindedness. Okay? Dolly, what dose would be for B6? Start with like 50 milligrams. What if folinic acid makes them have more anger episodes? Lower the dose and add our anger management supplement. Okay? I formulated our anger management supplement to reduce the anger or the hyperactivity from B vitamins. Dolly, what form of magnesium? Which we talked about. Does it have to be chelated? No. Ola, what are cofactors to produce GABA? Well, GABA is just a protein. It's an amino acid. But if you want to get it in the body, again, everything we talked about, vitamin B6, folinic acid, vitamin D, magnesium, progesterone. Janice, we're in Florida. We love that you're our doc, and we can get the best help for our granddaughter. I'm one happy Mimi. Janice, I love helping you guys. I'm glad you're here. Yolene, hello, Yolene. Erica, can someone who doesn't have seizures benefit from GABA? Oh, yeah. Guess what all the anti-anxiety meds are? Like Ativan and all the benzos. They support GABA activity. They're calming. They're relaxing. Yes, you can take GABA. In fact, I'm going to take some GABA right now so you can see it. Ooh, these got a little oxidized. They're usually not this dark, but that's the size of a tablet right there. Oh, yeah. It's a little humid. Those got moist. Still work, though. Pheno. Hey, Doc, how calcium and high glutamate affect GABA? How do we know high-dose calcium levels? Well, yes, glutamate and GABA, as we talked about, interchange. How does calcium affect those? I don't know. How do we know how to high-dose calcium levels? Well, again, if you're supplementing with calcium, and I think that's what you're asking, anywhere between like 500 and 1,000 milligrams a day is good. You want to split that up because it's really poorly absorbed. The more vitamin D you take, the better you'll absorb that calcium. Medina, hey, Doc, what do you recommend for stimming? Balancing cortisol, like with our temper tamer supplement. Try that. Sharon, gut calm and gut immune access can be given together? Yes, totally. I love our gut calm. That's some good stuff. Thea, thank you. You're welcome. Maria, hey, Doc, 10-year-old boy on risperidone easily flips mood, starts grinding teeth, and hits and kicks people, even hurting others. What do you recommend? Maria, he's got a gut infection. Probably parasites. Okay? Get on our yeast mold bundle, get on our Paraslayer, get a stool test. Everything you just said is parasites or gut infection. And then you don't need the risperidone. Okay? The anger and the violence is from the pain. Okay? Risperidone doesn't treat autism. It just zombies you out so you don't hurt yourself or anybody. And I hate that we're using psych meds as pharmacological straitjackets when we're not addressing the cause of the problem, which is pain. Amanda, what vitamin D do you recommend? D3? Yeah, D3. That's it. Don't use D2, D3. And most supplements are D3 nowadays. Janice, yep, those parasites were our granddaughter on just a regular stool test. Got to say how impressed we are with how quickly Dr. Smith, so we can get rid of those suckers. Janice, we are here to help. We do everything we can for you guys. And again, for those of you who are not patients and want to be, go to our website, click the appointments tab, call our office, email our office. You can book it on our Calendly app. Jeannie, got sidetracked. So glad these lives are recorded so I can get the last 45 minutes. I'm pulling for you, Doc, and voted on the Nutmeg site. Oh, thank you, Jeannie. Yes, what Jeannie's talking about is I've been voted Connecticut's best holistic pediatrician for 5 years in a row. And they have this vote and survey every year. And we'd love for you guys to vote again so I can be voted best holistic pediatrician 6 years in a row in the state of Connecticut. So that's on our... That'll be on our Facebook page and social media and eBlast. And you click the button. Number 4 is Best Pediatrician. You put my name and you're done. And if you can do that, that'd be awesome. I'd love that. Let's go for 10 years in a row. Sonia, hey, Dr. Skowron, my son is your patient, trying to get some guidance on what to take of mitochondrial dysfunction and constipation. Is acetyl-carnitine better than levocarnitine? I think they're both really similar. I would try both, see which one works better for you. Susan, flinic acid, MTHFR dependent? No. Flinic acid is actually the form of folate before the MTHFR conversion. And it just seems to work better for our kids. I used to use methylfolate a lot until I learned about flinic acid. We use flinic acid in most of our formulas. Our Power and Focus has a combo, 80-20, 80 flinic, 20 methylfolate. But yeah. Alicia, can serotonin and melatonin be taken together? Yep, many of my patients do. Rena, good night. Good night, Rena. Deborah, glycine can cause issues for some. True. Deb, seizures from viruses. Yeah, because of inflammation. Erica, my son is nonverbal with a lot of anxiety. Well, if you're new to Spectrum Awakening, you wonder where to start. Start by downloading our free ebooks. We got 2 free ebooks on our site, the Beginner's Guide and the Advanced Guide. Download those, take a look, and see where you want to go. If you just want to start with a supplement, our number 1 best-selling supplement, the first thing I ever formulated 2 decades ago, it's called Power and Focus. Okay? Start there. And for those of you who research, I just happen to have it here on my desk. My first supplement was actually with a different company, Metabolic Maintenance, and this is from the first run. Again, we're going back almost 20 years. So you may see this supplement online. It's called Spectrum Awakening, but it's produced by Metabolic Maintenance, and I've worked with Metabolic Maintenance, and they're a great company. So this is my first formula. We've made it a lot better, and this eventually turned into this, but this is like on its 5th or 6th generation of improvements. So try that. But I know people get confused because they see that online. Erica says, okay, my son is nonverbal with a lot of anxiety. Go with the GABA. Deborah, increasing GABA can increase glutamate in some. It's true. It's true. It does that. And it does that because of other factors in the body. And that's why maybe just taking GABA isn't the best, but that's where the B6, that's where the vitamin D, that's where the folinic acid, that's where the magnesium can have the body produce its own GABA. Okay? Erica, no seizures, though trying to achieve calmness and less impulsiveness. Again, try our Calm and Cool if you haven't yet, or our Spectrum Tranquility. Excuse me, breakfast is coming up. Diane, I don't know what those words mean. Diane said, does flutemist has to be Eero? I don't know, Diane. Deborah, isn't glutamate the gun and calcium a bullet in some? I don't know what that means, Deb. Medina, I ordered the O test and heavy metal test. Will you guide me with it after I get the results? Medina, I'm glad you brought that up. We do offer specialty testing on our website. O test, stool test, heavy metal test, genetic tests, okay? A lot of mold tests. Any test that's ordered on our Spectrum Awakening website, I get the results, send you a copy, and I write you a written interpretation and suggestions on things to do. Personally by me, I don't have anybody do it. I want my hands on these things because I want to help you guys the best. So yes, if you ordered it through our website, you'll get a written report and guidance by me. Deb, seizures from psych meds, increased prolactin. Interesting, Deb. I like that. Amen, Doc. No more pharmaceutical straitjackets, medical root causes. That's what medicine used to be. Medicine used to be identify and treat the cause of disease. Not, I got 50 patients today. Why don't you try this, because I got to go home. Maria, so violent and aggression is caused by pain. If they don't get what they want, they hit people. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think that says a lot for our world today with emotional pain, too. It's a lot. Guadalupe. Hey, Doc, can I give my son power and focus tension on the dumbbell folinic acid? Yep, all in the morning. Diane, glutamate has to be 0? No. Remember, I'm driving a car. I'm driving a car on the highway. I want to drive 65 or whatever. I need part accelerator and part brake. Okay, I need Goldilocks. Okay, not too little, not too much. So I need glutamate. I need an accelerator, or I'd be asleep. I'd be a zombie without it. But I need balance. Medina, yes, it's from your website. Okay, thank you. I'll make an appointment with you after the results. Sounds great. Sandra, is there a certain magnesium to give our kids with seizures? How much Panda Bear should I give my daughter? I'm only giving it once a day. Yeah, once a day in the morning is fine with the dose on the bottle, which I think is a quarter teaspoon. What kind of magnesium? I like, and this is what we make. This is our magnesium powder, MagPow. This is a glycinate. It's a bisglycinate chelate to be specific. But I really like that. And of course, I love our brown log train. Do I have it? I don't see it. Our brown log train is a combination of magnesium and electrolytes for constipation. It's great stuff. Fino says, thank you, Doc. Welcome, Fino. All right. That is all the live questions I can see. If you want to ask a live question, I'm going to wrap up here, put it in the comments section. But we talked about seizures today, okay? Seizure is overactive electricity in the brain, okay? How does the brain control electricity? Well, it's this balance of accelerators and brakes. Glutamate's the accelerator, GABA's the brake. Normally, it's a deficiency in the brake, a deficiency in this GABA that causes the seizures, okay? Now, how do we know if we have a seizure? You need to measure electricity with the EEG and the little pads and the wires on your kids. You need a good 48 to 72 hours to screen for it because seizure activity, even if you don't have external seizure symptoms, if you have seizure activity in the brain, that can lead to irreversible neurological damage and cognitive impairment, okay? Seizure meds are out there. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We want to make sure we don't have seizure activity. There are natural things that the body uses to prevent seizures activity. Let's start there. Let's adjunct our meds with those things. Or maybe we can reduce our med dose by using these things the body already uses to reduce seizure activity. Vitamin B6, vitamin D, folinic acid, magnesium, checking your progesterone level. Those are the things that are scientifically researched. All right? We went through the science today, and I want you guys to take a look at that. If your child has seizure activity, or even if you think they might, all right? It's not going to hurt for some vitamins, all right? But There are great ways for you guys to help your kids. A couple other questions, we'll wrap up here. Sandra says, where do I email my son's P10 gene results? It's customer service at spectrumawakening.com, or you can go to our website and I'm sure there's a contact us button or something. Jeannie, I believe my boy had an absence seizure. What is that exactly? Jeannie, an absence seizure, they're different seizures. Okay, there's not just one seizure. When we hear seizure and we think of big grand mal, you pass out, you fall on the floor and you shake and you foam at the mouth. That's the most severe seizure. There are a continuum of seizures. You can have a seizure in just half your body. I could have half my body shake, but not the other half. I can also have just seizure activity with my consciousness, but not my body. So the frontal lobe can have a seizure and I'll be unconscious and unresponsive, but my body's not flailing. So it looks like I'm absent. It looks like I'm not there, okay? But it's because I'm having a seizure in here without physical activity. That's an absent seizure. All right, guys. That's all the questions here in the Q&A. Don't forget, we'll give our coupon for the weekend again. That's Seizure20. Seizure20 gets you 20% off any of our vitamins, any of our lab tests on SpectrumAwakening.com. That expires July 14th, 2024. Thank you guys for watching. And of course, thank you for sharing. We want to do everything to help you help your child. And a big thank you for you guys who try to help your kids and do everything possible. So we're going to get this done. We're going to learn together and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.